Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
Hey, here we go. Back fresh off of the third Battle of Petersburg, and everybody has fled Richmond. They took their archives, they took their gold, and they're gone.
it's over.
They're trying to go to Danville, but I don't think they're going to make it. We got a couple skirmishes, and then we got a couple battles. The whole time they're running away. Namozine Church, Amelia Springs, Rice's Station for this episode. Then next week it's going to be Sailor's Creek, High Bridge, Cumberland Station, and then we'll wrap up Lee's story, I guess, and Grant's story at the Appomattox Station / courthouse. So we got 3 more episodes until they surrender, and then probably another 3 after that till we're done with the war. As usual, you guys want to see what happened, and go back to the Siege of Petersburg, which are you can go back to, I believe it's probably, a couple episodes ago where we went through it. We'll just keep on going, and then when we get to Appomattox Station, we'll recap everything, the Petersburg stuff, until the surrender for you, and then that's it. So, yeah. We got Lee on the run, and he's trying to figure out what can I do to not get caught and my army slaughtered and or annihilated. So
Sad.
yeah, we got like I said, Namozine Church, Amelia Springs, Rice's Station for this one. And we're starting out with the Battle of Namozine Church on April 3rd, 1865. General Lee's Army of the Northern Virginia evacuated Petersburg, like we said, on the night of April 2nd to the 3rd and began a march toward Danville, hoping to link up with Joseph Johnston's army, who was attempting to slow the advance of the Union Army commanded by Sherman in North Carolina.
I don't think that happens.
Much of the Army of Northern Virginia, along with Confederate President Jefferson Davis and his cabinet, were able to escape from Petersburg and Richmond just ahead of the Union troops entering those cities April 3rd because Confederate rearguard forces, especially at Forts Gregg and Whitworth and Mahone, and the Battle of Sutherland Station just last episode, they fought desperate delaying actions April 2nd to give most of the Confederates a head start on Union Army pursuers. General Lee first planned to reunite the 4 columns of his army, which left Petersburg and Richmond, and to resupply at Amelia Courthouse, 39 miles southwest of Richmond.
Lee's men left their positions in Petersburg and Richmond with only 1-day rations.
Wow.
Lee expected to find a supply train of rations that he had ordered brought to Amelia Courthouse to meet the army. Most of Lee's armies marched west on routes north of the Appomattox River, but the remnants of the divisions of Major General George Pickett and Major General Bushrod Johnson, the latter of which included the brigades of Confederate Brigadier Generals Henry Wise, William Henry Wallace, young Marshal Moody, along with the Cavalry Corps Commander Major General Fitzhugh Lee, whose division was under the command of Colonel Thomas Munford, and the division of Major General W.H.F. Rooney Lee, following as a rear guard, moved on the Namozine Road south of the river. Yeah, what's left of Pickett? There can't be much left of Pickett's little brigade there.
He's well done, man. He's just riding along with it. Well, most of Lee's army had an effective 1-day head start on their flight from Richmond. The advanced Union Army Cavalry and Infantry Corps, commanded by Philip Sheridan, were able to keep Lee's forces to their north by pursuing them on a parallel course to their south. Union Cavalry harassed and skirmished with Confederate units almost from the outset of the Confederates' army march from Petersburg.
Wow.
They said, this ain't McClellan no more. We're fucking harassing you.
Damn right.
Confederate rearguard dismounted cavalry units often paused to block the roads from pursuing Union cavalry. Like, you guys go ahead, we got it.
As early as the evening of the 2nd of April, 1865, Confederate cavalry under Fitzhugh Lee detected units of the Old Bluecoats Cavalry Division of Brigadier General Thomas Devon. They were in pursuit and had Bushrod Johnson's infantry throw up a series of breastworks along the Namozine Road in order to repulse those old Union riders. Very next day, 3rd of April, advanced units of the Union cavalry fought with the rearguard Confederate cavalry at Willicomac Creek and the Battle of Namozine Church.
Right.
In the very early morning of the 3rd, at a ford on Namozine Creek, regiments from the 2nd Brigade under the command of Colonel William Wells of Custer's 3rd Cavalry Division, which had taken over the advance pursuit, threatened the rear guard of Rooney Lee's column.
That rear guard was the cavalry brigade of Brigadier General William Roberts and a few infantry units. Roberts had dismounted the 4th North Carolina Cavalry Regiment and the 16th North Carolina Cavalry Battalion and had them entrenched on the west side of the creek. Custer brought up artillery to blast the North Carolina cavalrymen with canister and had the 1st Vermont Volunteer Cavalry Regiment ford the creek out of sight of the Confederates in order to outflank them.
Uh-oh.
When the Confederates discovered this maneuver, they fled their position in order to try to regroup further down the road. They said, not now, not today.
Well, Custer's division then crossed the creek, headed for the Namozine Church, about 5 miles away. the leading Union Cavalry Brigade of Custer's 3rd Division, the 2nd Brigade under Colonel William Wells, who attacked the Confederate cavalrymen of Brigadier General Rufus Behringer along the creek. They fought a running battle along the road until they reached Namozine Church. Behringer's Confederates, 1st and 2nd North Carolina Volunteer Cavalry, with a single artillery piece, with the 5th North Carolina Volunteer Cavalry in reserve, they counterattacked the 8th New York Volunteer Cavalry Regiment of Wells Brigade, commanded by Major James Bliss. They did that as they reached the Namozine Church. After a sharp fighting, the old Rebs cavalry were turned away by the 8th New York. Look at that. And reinforcements from the 15th New York Volunteer Cavalry, commanded by Colonel John Coppinger, and the 1st Vermont Volunteer Cavalry, commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Josiah Hall.
About 9 a.m. as Wells Brigade began their attack, Brigadier General Custer's younger brother, Captain Tom Custer, he spurred his horse over a hastily thrown-up barricade of the still deploying Confederate cavalry and captured 3 Confederate officers and 11 enlisted men, as well as the battle flag of the 2nd North Carolina Cavalry. For his actions, Tom Custer would eventually be awarded the Medal of Honor. One of 2 he would earn within 4 days. The other one's going to be at Sailor's Creek coming up next episode. This dude,
guy.
Yeah, Custer.
Look at him, huh? Behringer's Confederate cavalry had bought enough time for Bushrod Johnson's infantry division to pass nearby Namozine Church. That was about 8 a.m.
8 a.m.
Fortunately for Johnson, his forces took a wrong turn.
Unfortunately.
Right. Unfortunately for Johnson, his forces took a wrong turn at a fork in the road and had a halt when his brigade reached a bridge over Deep Creek that was underwater from recent flooding.
Oh, they call it Deep Creek for a reason.
Right. Although the old Union Cavalry drove off the rebels, the North Carolina Cavalry Regiment had secured the Namozine Church Road intersection long enough for the old Johnson to return and take the correct fork.
All right, good for you.
We got to go this way now, I guess.
Well, when Johnson approached with his infantry division, Custer's forces were forced to retire, allowing the Confederate forces to proceed across Deep Creek, which was an Appomattox River tributary. Then Fitzhugh Lee and his cousin Rooney Lee, they separated their cavalry commands and continued their retreat. Custer later chased the fleeing Confederates, but near dark, he ran into substantial infantry opposition from Johnson's division. That was at Sweat House Creek and halted for the night. After dark, however, Wells's brigade continued to attack Fitzhugh Lee's force along Deep Creek. He said, darkness ain't going to deter me.
I want to go home before summer. Brigadier Behringer and many of his men were captured by Sheridan's scouts, who were wearing gray uniforms, and they led Behringer and his remaining men into a trap. Oh, wow. Couldn't you tell by the fake Southern accent? Rooney Lee's adjutant general, Major J.D. Ferguson, also was captured as well. Sheridan's forces camped for the night along the road from Namozine Church to Deep Creek, while the Confederate infantry and remaining cavalry continued to march to the designated consolidation point of Amelia Courthouse, where they expected to receive much-needed supplies.
Well, Colonel Wells lost 95 Federal cavalrymen killed and wounded in this engagement.
Damn.
Total Confederate losses are not known. Why? Of course they're not.
Of course.
But Custer's men were able to capture many of the Confederates.
Okay.
They took 350 prisoners, 100 horses, and an artillery piece while initially clearing the road as far as the Namozine Church.
Fantastic.
Johnson reported 15 wounded from his division. And after the battle, the Namozine Church served as a field hospital and later as Major General Sheridan's temporary headquarters.
Fantastic. Look at that shit. Getting that shit done. 4th of April. The opposing forces skirmished at the Tabernacle Church, or Beaver Pond Creek, and at Amelia Courthouse. Meanwhile, Sheridan's forces occupied Jetersville, Virginia.
Yep.
And then also Burkeville, Virginia, blocking Lee's access to Richmond and Danville Railroad.
Yeah.
And to direct the route southwestward. Lee had hoped to find a supply train at Amelia Courthouse, 39 miles southwest of Richmond. But guess what happened when he got there on the 4th of April? Found that the train contained only ordnance, ammunition, caissons, and harnesses.
Wow, no food, no nothing, dude.
Wow, why would you not just like put like a couple loaves of
He
bread?
ordered it.
All right.
But they never, well, we'll see.
Did the Indians get them?
After a delay for unsuccessful foraging efforts, or as some historians have argued, primarily because of the delay in bringing up the pontoon bridge needed to cross the rain-swollen rivers, Lee had to order his hungry men to resume their march in the hope that they could find rations at Farmville, Virginia instead.
Good luck.
April 5th, 1865, Sheridan ordered Crook to send cavalry patrols north of Jetersville to reconnoiter his left flank. Between 4 miles and 7 miles out of Jetersville, Union Brigadier General Henry Davies, Jr. attacked and destroyed about 200 wagons of a Confederate Army wagon train and took at least 300 prisoners.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Jeez, this keeps getting worse and worse.
Wow, the old rebel cavalry engaged Davies' rear guard in a running combat through Amelia Springs. But Davies' force linked up with reinforcements near Jetersville, permitting Davies to limit his losses and keep his prisoners.
And what we just described right there is going to lead us into the Battle of Amelia Springs right now.
Let's take a look at the Battle of Amelia Springs. What happened in Virginia?
Yes, they're all in Virginia.
Right. It occurred on the 5th of April, 1865. General Lee hoped to find a supply train, which we have mentioned before at Amelia Courthouse, but there was none there with food, at least. Mm-hmm. This delay allowed even more Union troops to catch up to and get ahead of his hungry, exhausted, and declining force. Man, you're just defeated, Lee. Just give it up, bud. Few supplies could be found in the depleted area near Amelia Courthouse. Lee had to order his hungry men to resume their march in hope that they could find rations in Farmville. By the 4th of April, Sheridan's Union forces had taken advanced positions at Burkeville Junction and at Jetersville, which blocked Lee's success to the Richmond and Danville Road.
It sure did. Well, we know Sheridan ordered Crook to send cavalry patrols north of Jetersville to reconnoiter his left flank.
Right.
And that's where Henry Davies took his brigade through Amelia Springs and then swung into the Paineville, Virginia area of Amelia County. About 4 miles out of Jetersville, Davies attacked a Confederate Army wagon train where he got the 300.
Right.
According to some sources, some of these people that he attacked and caught as prisoners were armed black soldiers in Confederate uniforms.
Really?
Which is the only known instance in Virginia of combat involving organized black Confederate soldiers.
No shit.
Right.
I'd like to hear more about that.
Well,
some historians doubt this claim, though. They're just simply Teamsters.
Right.
In this brief account of this action in his biography of General Sheridan, General Davies made no mention of black troops anywhere. Yeah. One of the items burned in the wagons was the war diary of the Army of Northern Virginia. That's bullshit. Upon hearing about Davies' action, General Lee dispatched 2 divisions of Major General Fitzhugh Lee's cavalry, which joined with Brigadier General Martin Gary's cavalry at Paineville. He said, "Go get that Davies, damn it." Together, they engaged Davies' rear guard in a running combat for 3 miles.
There's running combats lately.
They did that all the way to Amelia Springs.
The Confederates attacked Davies' force in a mounted combat with drawn sabers, forcing his men to retreat. The Confederates chased Davies' force almost to Jetersville, but when Davies' men linked up with the other Union Army cavalry of Major General Crook's main force, Davies was able to retain his prisoners, mules, and cannon, and the Confederates returned to Amelia Springs for the night.
Okay.
Confederate cavalry continued to skirmish with Union forces at Jetersville, and the Confederate infantry demonstrated during the afternoon of April 5th. What are you demonstrating? How to lose?
Right. Well, the apparent purpose of these actions, after Lee discovered that the road and the railroad to Burkeville was blocked by Sheridan's forces at Jetersville, he was like, now we need to cover for the continuing movement of the Confederate Army west toward Farmville. Lee ordered supplies sent to this location from Lynchburg. Can we get these fucking supplies now? Shit.
Jeez, during the night of April 5th and morning of April 6th, General Lee began to march his army from Amelia Courthouse through Amelia Springs towards Farmville. 2 Union Army divisions under the command of Brigadier General Nelson Miles and Major General Gershom Mott had corps commanded by Major General Andrew Humphreys, and they observed the movement on the night of April 5th and pursued the Confederates. They said, not so fast. The Confederate rear guard under the command of Major General John Gordon held off the Union Army attack and continued the march west, while the Union forces stopped for rest for the night. During the engagement, Major General Mott was wounded, and Brigadier General Regis de Trobriand took control of his division. Got a French guy, huh?
Senior Doug. Union forces suffered between 116 and 158 casualties in the Amelia Springs engagements. Rebels' casualties, unknown. Presumed to be fewer or perhaps less than a hundo.
For this Appomattox campaign, they ain't giving nothing away, are they? They're like, wow, are they even recording it? Because they're on the run and they don't give a fuck anymore, I guess.
They don't care. They don't even know. In addition, the old Rebs suffered the loss of those soldiers and Teamsters captured in an attack on the wagon train at Paineville as well. Major General Meade thought the old rebel army remained concentrated at Amelia Courthouse. And despite the suspicions of Grant and Sheridan that the old Rebs had moved on, he sent an army of the Potomac infantry in the direction of Amelia Courthouse in the morning of the 6th of April. Look at Meade. He's like, well, we got to make sure.